Welcome back to Pickin Winners. I'm your host, Tony. That is Nate. We're picking NFL matchups for Week 7 and providing a best bet from each of us. Before we get started, though, Nate, how we doing?
Doing good, man. A lot of weird nights for me right now where I couldn't sleep, so then just slept and woke up. It's like 9 something at night right now, but I just took a massive nap after eating a Five Guys burger. Dude, Five Guys burgers are like so expensive. Like I got a burger and a shake,
They
no
are.
fry, $18, and I was like, "Good God." It was tasty, but Jesus.
That's my only gripe with Five Guys because they give you like a million fries, but it
Yeah.
is pricey. It's very, very pricey.
What I'm saying is
Um,
we need to win because I just spent a lot of money on a burger.
you got to make rent. Gotcha. So we're recording this a couple days later than normal because we did want to see some of those injury reports before we made a couple of picks. I feel like we're there now, so we'll jump into the Week 7 picks. But first, a quick recap on how we fared in Week 6. We both went green. We're not going to celebrate. We're not going to hang the mission accomplished banner. We both went 10-5 though. I was up zero point 0.4 units. You were positive zero point 0.3 units. So we'll take that.
Yeah.
For best bets, I was successful in Week 6 with Detroit covering 3. That brings me to 3-3 on the year. So I'm 500. I'm up 0.6 units there. And Nate, your 6-point teaser, dead in the water because the 49ers lost to the Browns starting PJ Walker, because of course they did. You're
This
four
team
and two on the year though.
stinks.
Yeah. 4-2 on the year though for you. Still doing really well. You're up 2.5 units. So good job there.
Nice.
We'll get back on track. We'll deliver some best bets after we get through these picks. So again, we're recording this on Friday. Today's 20 October. We both picked Jacksonville and got the W on Thursday night football. So we're kicking things off here with the early games on Sunday. First matchup is going to be Las Vegas at Chicago. The Raiders are favored by 2.5, over unders at 37.5. And I have some injury notes since we waited. I'm going to go ahead and plug these in here. No Jimmy G, no Justin Fields. So we're rolling with backups. I just saw no Roshan Johnson as well. He's still trying to get out of that concussion protocol for Chicago. They'll be thin at running back. And also without guard Nate Davis, and then some key pieces on defense. What you got here, Nate?
You know, as folklore goes, if you look at the Raiders helmet, right, it's like almost like a pirate, like a pillager, essentially, right? And a lot of those guys hang out around like the Mediterranean and all these kind of things historically. So when you think of things like Pirates of the Caribbean or something like that, you imagine them coming up to a shore, and raiding a town, burning some buildings. But one thing that one thing they always end up grabbing, and this is something Max Crosby likes too, is baguettes, right? And the Chicago Bears are starting a quarterback named after a bread. Apparently, his dad was like an arm wrestling champion, but this dude cannot throw the forward pass. It's bad. He's actually okay, but like you want to root for the guy or something like that. But you sound like your name's a baguette. One of them big long, 2.5 footer, 3 footers that you get at the bar after you're done, pounding brewskis all night, and there's like a little bakery that's opening up in the morning. They're making all their
Mm-hmm.
bread. You knock on it. You had the girl that you're with. Can I have some bread, please, or something like that? I'm taking the Raiders on the road. I don't like it, but if the Raiders are going to be able to run up and down the field on this team, Devontae Adams gets his catches and stuff like that. Brian Hoyer, if he starts, I think it's more of a positive than starting Aiden O'Connell or AOC, as your people like to say, Tony. But I will take the Raiders to win this ball game on the road. It's going to be ugly. There's not going to be a lot of points. So,
What kind of bars are you going to that sell baguettes?
dude,
2 in the
there's a
morning.
bar in Maryland that we used to go to. It was called Ram's Head, and it's like in this little, wooden cottage looking bricked area or whatever like that. It's real
Sure.
small, just or whatever. And in the little complex was like a little coffee shop bakery, like old French style, Italian style. So they'd have
Yeah.
like cappuccinos and stuff at like 2:30 in the morning, and the old guys were always in there baking bread for the mornings. And the girls
Mm-hmm.
that we were with always go up and like, "Can we have some bread, please?" Like acting like they're all cold and freezing, and we just go home with like 6 baguettes or whatever like that, like in a car. Whoever was driving, the rest of us all have like a full 3 footer
Yeah.
just munching on it all the way back home.
I'm not hating. You had me at
Good
bread. I was
bars.
just curious. Good bars. Uh, yeah, this is going to come down to whose backup you trust more. Sorry. For me, it's Las Vegas. The Bears also have one of the worst defenses in the NFL. That's well documented to this point. That factors in here as well. You don't want a leaking defense putting additional pressure on a rookie in his first career start. So I'm also with Las Vegas, taking the Raiders. It's risky. Next matchup here for us, Cleveland at Indianapolis. The Browns, road favorites, they get 3.5. Over-unders at 41. Further injuries. Deshaun Watson is questionable. He was practicing towards the end of the week here. That's a huge positive for the Browns. Only other notable injury tag for Cleveland is Greg Newsome, who's questionable with a hamstring. The Colts are going to be without tackle Braden Smith. Nate, what you got?
Gardner Minshew's really good at playing football in a backup role. And right now he's about to play in a starter's role, right? And this is something I had to kind of adjust my eyes to or whatever like that. But I think there are some quarterbacks that are like that in the NFL, right? Where they come in, they're unknown, and they do really well for that half of football or something like that because the defense didn't game plan for that guy, right? Well, you give the Cleveland Browns defense the best defense since defenses have been made. We're talking old empires, right? Like back in the day, putting up fortresses and moats and all this. It's way better than having alligators in a 6-foot moat that's 15 feet deep, right? Protecting your castle like Merlin and stuff like that from Sword of the Stone. Deshaun Watson's going to play, it looks like. He was throwing the ball. It looked pretty good. They said, hey, he looks good or whatever like that. Cleveland should be able to beat the brakes off this Indianapolis team. Gardner Minshew with a team that's been able to game plan the scheme against him, right, and be able to get pressure. There's no team better in getting pressures in the NFL than the Cleveland Browns. So I'll just take Cleveland to win the ball game on the road. Indianapolis may not score.
We got baguettes, we got wizards, we got moats. I'm anxious to see what the rest of these matchups here is going to bring, Nate. I like it.
Nice.
The Browns, without Deshaun Watson last week against the 49ers, won a football game. The Browns beat San Francisco with their third-string quarterback, just to put things into perspective for this game. I talked to the conditions last week against the Niners and the injuries San Fran sustained on the recap, but the Browns had to deal with that too, and they still pulled off a pretty impressive victory. I'm taking the Browns, and may God have mercy on Gardner Minshew's soul in this matchup.
And his jeans shorts.
Jean shorts and mullet. Yeah, teams watch film. That's a real thing. Next matchup, Buffalo at New England. The Bills are favored by 8. Over-unders at 40 for the injuries. Ed Oliver, defensive tackle for Buffalo. He's not suiting up this weekend. The Patriots, fuck these guys in their injury list. Are you ready? Juju, questionable. DeMario Douglas, questionable. Kayshon Boutte, questionable. Hunter Henry, questionable. Tackle Trent Brown, questionable. Guard Mike Owenu, questionable. Center Cole Strange, questionable. It's a joke, I swear. But out for the Patriots is Riley Reif and edge rusher Josh Uche. Good God, what are we doing here, Nate?
It sounds crazy, but this is probably the one big favorite on the board that's likely to get upset, right? If there is one, for some reason, New England, Buffalo, that's in New England. Buffalo seems to be playing to the level of their competition or the perceived level of their competition, right? They struggled to beat the New York Giants, who are by far the worst team in all of football right now. They ended up losing to Jacksonville, taking a short trip over to London the week prior. There's something that says don't bet this game whatsoever, because it's either going to be a complete blowout by Buffalo or New England's going to upset these guys, right? And this is more so just a stay away game for me, but to win the ball game, I'm going to pick Buffalo. I think at some point they have to be like, hey, are we going to really be a contender here? We just saw the 2 undefeated teams lose. Now we got 2 of the better teams in the league in Miami, who we blew out, playing Philadelphia this week on Sunday Night Football. So there's big time matchups going on here and there throughout the league. You got Detroit at Baltimore. There's some pretty good matchups that are kind of shaping what this NFL season is starting to look like this year. And Buffalo needs to make a statement. So I'll take Buffalo to win it, but it's a scary one. And I wouldn't mind anybody going out there and tossing some short money on New England to possibly win a game or something like that. It makes no sense.
If that's what you're trying to do here.
It makes no sense whatsoever, but neither did Cleveland beating San Francisco. Neither does the Jets. I mean, the Jets did make some sense beating Philly, but not really, right? Stuff happens. So
it seems like there's a matchup or two every week where stuff like this happens. So I can see that as well. The Patriots, though, they're in a pretty bad spot. I'm not sure I've ever seen them this bad in the Bill Belichick era. They're 29th in offensive efficiency and only middle of the pack on defense in the same metric. that's supposed to be what they do well, right? Defense. Mac Jones has been pulled from the last 2 games. Let's be real, that's what it was. And just not much to hang your hat on to this point for New England. The Bills are not unblemished, but given the offense and defense both sitting inside the top 10 in terms of DVOA, I think I'm going to go with Buffalo. But again, I'd err on the side of caution with this one. Like real life, probably not touching it.
Yep. The New York Giants almost beat this team, and it came down to the New York Giants almost beat this team, and it came down to a missed holding call on Darren Waller. What a bad time for him. He ends up losing the ball game, then has to go watch his wife win a WNBA championship. Shout out to Kelsey Plum. She's the sexiest chick in all of WNBA. But right there in that city that he lives in. So
yeah. Way to sneak that in there, the WNBA news. I like it. That is true. That was a very close game. So another reason why you should probably stay away from that one. Next matchup, though, Washington at the aforementioned Giants. Commanders come in as 3-point favorites on the road. Over-unders low. It's at 37.5 for injuries. Washington has a clean bill of health. The Giants have Daniel Jones listed as questionable. He was out until the last couple of days, so he might go. Kind of follow that if you're interested tomorrow. Tackle Andrew Thomas is out, not great for the offensive line. Guard Evan Neal, questionable, and cornerback Adoree Jackson also carries a questionable tag with a neck injury. What you got for this one, Nate?
I'm going to take the New York Giants to get a win here. I don't like Washington whatsoever. They can pass the ball. Sam Howell's one of the league leaders in all of passing yards in the NFL. But Washington also doesn't have a secondary who knows how to defend at all. They can't communicate. They run they just blow coverages where it's simple. Like a corner doesn't know how deep he's supposed to be in cover 6 or something like that, and he's playing cover 2, right? And there's just gaps everywhere in that secondary. I think Tyrod Taylor's going to end up playing this game. Daniel Jones isn't cleared for contact yet. I think they labeled him as questionable because he got some reps in and stuff like that, but he can't be touched, and he's got a back injury. No need to put him out there when you paid that dude a bunch of money if he can't have contact until Saturday before a game. I don't think that's good, right? And I think Tyrod Taylor's pretty smart. He's comparable. One to look out for in this game. If you like anytime touchdown stuff, I don't like betting this kind of stuff, but give Darren Waller a touchdown. He missed out on the game winner last week, and then his old lady just won a WNBA championship right there in that arena, at Madison Square Garden, right down the road. And then you got Isaiah Hodgins. Like, wait, Nate, where do you talk about Isaiah Hodgins? He's plus 1,100 to score a touchdoon, but he's got a birthday this weekend, so... He's got a birthday this weekend, so you can lay a little bit and make a little bit. I think I want to do like a thing of birthdays, touchdown birthday guys, and see if that's a thing. So I've done it in the past where there's guys who have like Amon-Ra's birthday is on like Monday, right? So I like him to score a touchdown too, but I'll take the New York Giants. They're a dog. I don't think that they should be a dog. They should be because they stink, but I think this team is different with Tyrod Taylor at the helm. He's a lot smarter. He knows when to run. He can deal with the pressure that's coming in his face and stuff like that and get the ball out quick. So I'll take the New York Giants to get a win over the Commodes.
Just keep the doctors away from Tyrod Taylor in this one, right?
Yeah.
I think the Commanders can be beaten through the air. I do agree with you there, Nate. They rank 22nd in passing yards allowed, but it's the Giants. I give Bieniemy and Rivera credit for the W last week against Atlanta, a much, much better team than the Giants. So I have confidence that they can get it done against a division rival. Kind of reeling here. This is one where it's like a coin flip for me. I did want to be different on at least one or two matchups, and I like the Commanders just a little bit more than I like the Giants. Nice. All right, moving on. Atlanta at Tampa Bay. The Bucs are favored by 2.5 at home. Over under. It's another low one. It's at 37. Rightfully so. Injury report. So nothing for Atlanta, but the Bucs are going to be without edge Anthony Nelson, and then Vita Vea has a questionable tag with a foot injury coming in. So what you got?
I liked Atlanta coming into this. I like to root for Desmond Ridder because I don't think he's all that good, right? And I want to see him do good. But he struggles when there's pressure. put on him. When he has got a clean pocket, he's pretty accurate in what he does and everything like that. But Tampa's going to be able to put some pressure on this dude, and then he's going to throw like 2 or 3 picks in this game. It is nice from a fantasy standpoint to be able to see that Atlanta's throwing the ball, and 2 weeks in a row he throws for over 300. Kyle Pitts is getting the ball. Drake London's getting the ball. But it's not how they're built to win ball games. They're built to, be able to run the ball and beat you up on the ground and control the clock, and then play tough press man, get some pressure, hope you throw a pick, right? As you're struggling to, with some of that anxiety, I guess you would say, that comes with, being down 1 to 2 scores or something like that, and then they get a turnover and get you there. But I'm going to take Tampa Bay to win this game at home. Low total. Weather's going to be weird throughout the entire NFL this week. Like, there's a lot of very, very low totals. In the last, I think over the whole year, unders have hit like outrageously and stuff like that. I can see this week being one where there's some games that go over. I think Tampa Bay could be one of those because Chris Godwin does beat man coverage pretty well, played in the slot, and then Mike Evans can jump with anybody in the league still. So I'll take Tampa Bay to win the game. It'd be ugly, but I can see it go either way. But I'm going to hang my hat on Baker Mayfield to not make the mistakes that Desmond Ridder will, and that is a tough thing to do.
I think ugly is just the theme of a lot of these matchups here in Week 7. Yeah. A lot of them are going to be ugly.
It gets better in the afternoon. Like, this afternoon slates are way better.
Agreed. So Atlanta is outside the top 20 in offensive and defensive efficiency. They looked okay last week against the Commanders, but Tampa, they're a tier above where Washington sits, especially on defense. And Atlanta has to go on the road in this one. What the Falcons like to do, as Nate mentioned, they like to run the ball. That's how they're built to win. That happens to be a strength for the Bucs defense. They're 5th in rushing yards allowed. And if they can bottle up Bijan and Tyler Algier, I think they'll walk away with this win pretty handily. So I am also taking Tampa Bay. Next matchup, Detroit at Baltimore. So another one of those ugly ones for me. Baltimore's favored by a field goal at home, over-unders at 43. For injuries, on the Lions side, no David Montgomery. Craig Reynolds is questionable with a hamstring and toe injury. Guard Jonah Jackson, he's out. And edge rusher Josh Pascal is out with a knee. Baltimore, they're going to be without Marcus Williams, safety there. Actually very healthy from what we're accustomed to seeing for Baltimore. What you got for this matchup?
Yeah, their secondary is getting a lot more healthy. I think Harbaugh did really good with like handling the London travel. So last week they went out to London on a Monday, right? And that showed to be beneficial for them in winning a ball game overseas. But as soon as the game was over, they basically took showers, did press, and then hopped on a plane and came back. So they've been in the U.S. for a week. They didn't stay for, their day off and then come back and get back to the facility Monday night and, get back to work on a Tuesday or nothing like that. They took it fairly seriously. I don't think Baltimore is good, but they are a team that is continuously proving me wrong. And the fact that teams that come back from overseas tend to be very slow and struggle and don't cover. And anytime a team's not going to cover at 3, they're probably going to end up losing. There's not too many games that end in 1 or 2 or something like that. Everybody's kind of high on Detroit. It's a feel-good story and all this kind of stuff. Baltimore's getting healthy. They're able to get some pressure on the pass rusher. It's outdoors. Jared Goff is my dude. But I will take Baltimore to win a game somehow. I don't like it, but I think Baltimore edges this one out, and they continue to prove me wrong, and they likely should be undefeated, the only undefeated team in football. And I don't think that they get beat up until they get into the division. So I think there's something to really be said about, picking teams that are not in division or in conference, right? When they play this out of conference, out of division schedule, like home teams having a severe advantage, as opposed to, hey, there's some, your inner divisions games, like they can kind of go either way, right? Like depending on where you're at and all that kind of stuff too. So I'll take Baltimore to win the game. Lamar Jackson just keeps, throwing bubble screens to Zay Flowers, and it gets there. I think that it'll end up happening. But Amon-Ra has a birthday this weekend. Load him up in your anytime score parlays or whatever crazy dumb stuff that you guys do. So
we're digging deep on those ATS research nuggets for you. This one feels pretty neutral for me. Both these teams are inside the top 10 in offensive and defensive efficiency. Certainly hasn't felt that way for Baltimore, but they are at home, as Nate alluded to. They shouldn't be jet lag. As Nate alluded to, they left London pretty early, and this is going to be a step up for the Lions in terms of opponent here. Their last 4 games, they played the Falcons, Packers, Panthers, and Bucks. So it's a test for Detroit, a test for, Jared Goff, Nate's love child there, and Ben Johnson. I'm anxious to see how the game plays out, but I do lean Baltimore because they seem to thrive like in these tight, in the trenches, ugly matchups. And, most importantly, they are getting more healthy than we have seen them this season. So give me the Ravens as well. Mm-hmm. Moving on to the afternoon games for Sunday. First one we're covering here is Pittsburgh at the Rams. LA. What is this? A neutral site? Is this a home game for Pittsburgh? I don't know what we're calling this.
It's a home game for Pittsburgh. They're terrible towels all throughout SoFi. It's going to be wild. Yeah.
And they're giving them out at SoFi. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
Rams are favored by...
They give out Rams house towels that are yellow, and it's like, what are you doing?
Pandering. Rams are favored 3.5 over unders at 44. For injuries, no Pat Freiermuth for Pittsburgh. And for the Rams, no Kyron Williams. Rookie Zach Evans looks to lead the committee. They also signed Darrell Henderson. It's just going to be an ugly committee there. Deontay Johnson also coming back from the IR. Nate, what you got?
You have any idea what Mike Tomlin's record is coming off a bye, Tony?
It's good. It's really good.
Yeah, I have no idea what it really was. I just don't know. But it sounds like a cool stat to have, right, or whatever like that. But I don't know. The Rams, I think, can move the ball, but this seems like a game where Pittsburgh coming off a bye, nobody believes in them. They just keep grinding out little wins that they shouldn't. They're kind of what do you call that? Getting that number keeps coming off the 3.5, and it keeps getting moved back and forth or whatever like that. Pittsburgh can play defense still. They're able to get to the quarterback with Watt and their other pass rusher there as well, and the rest of the team that they have. They're getting Deontay Johnson back. I don't know how much that means for the offense, but it can't hurt to have a better wide receiver on the field as well too. I think it's a game where we see either Najee or Jaylen Warren come out and just establish themselves. You can't really run it up the gut against this team, right? And Pittsburgh's offense is kind of dormant. Matt Canada's getting the whole Fireback Canada thing going on. And, but this just feels like one of those trap games for Los Angeles. They're got their star wide receiver back. And Pittsburgh, there's a pretty big footprint of Pittsburgh Steelers fans in California. And it just goes back to the 90s where people hated the Cowboys, and it was either, the Pittsburgh Steelers and who was the quarterback? Neil O'Donnell? Right, Neil O'Donnell throwing 7 interceptions in a Super Bowl against Dallas one year, and then all these Dallas Cowboy fans that somehow live in California are going all crazy, oh, America's team and this, and back before We Dem Boys, they were We Dem Boys in us, and everybody became Pittsburgh Steelers fans. So I think it's going to be loud. I think you'll see a lot of stuff. Maybe the fans start singing Renegade right where they need a sack fumble or something like that, and then we get it out of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll take the Steelers to win the ball game. I really have a lot of bozo takes on why I like teams, but this seems to be working. I went positive last week. Believe in me, people.
I've heard they're going to play Renegade by Styx at halftime. So
yeah.
They
actually got Styx to perform halftime show.
Jesus. So you say trap game, but I feel like the Rams don't really have any expectations on them for 2023. Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, they've come out of nowhere virtually. And I know Kyron's out for this one. Cooper Kupp has returned. He looks great. The defense is probably even worth mentioning here as well. We'd assume it'd be Aaron Donald, just a bunch of guys, bottom 5 in the league, right, going into the season. But they're middle of the pack. They're 18th in defensive DVOA, and they get a Steelers offense this weekend that is not good. They're 28th in efficiency and next to last in passing yards and rushing yards. They're also dead last in first downs and red zone attempts. Those things are probably related. But I'm taking the Rams here. And the record for Mike Tomlin after a bye is 12-4, Nate, which is dumb of me to pick against him. But also a lot of that was with Big Ben. He had Big Ben for a lot of that. So,
what's better than a Big Ben? A Kenny Pickett.
A medium Kenny? I don't know. Yeah, 12-4. That's good, but yeah, I'm taking the Rams. I like the Rams to do enough on offense, and it's probably going to be a lower scoring game, though. I don't have a lot of confidence in that Pittsburgh offense.
The Rams have a legit shot to make the playoffs, though, Tony. Like they're sitting at three
They
and three
do.
right now, and outside of the division winners, you got Seattle at 3-2. You got Atlanta, New Orleans sitting at 3-3, 3-4.
Yep.
Nobody in the NFC North is at 3 wins, and then Dallas is at 4. The Commanders are at 3. So, if they can get a couple wins here against teams that I think they have something. What I'm saying is I think they have something to play for. Like a little
I,
chip on your shoulder
I,
thing or something like that.
I'll agree with that. Expectations going in, though, I think were relatively low for most people. So
Yeah.
they've kind of surprised a lot of people. So, but I'm taking the Rams. So we're on opposite ends there. Next matchup: Arizona at Seattle in division game here. Seahawks are favored by 7.5. Over unders at 44.5. Injuries for Arizona. Kyler is still out, but his window to return has opened up. I think they have 3 weeks to get him back on the field. The secondary's banged up, lots of questionable tags there. Seattle has a few questionable tags as well along the offensive line. And then DK Metcalf and Zach Charbonnet also with a questionable tag, but I think they're good to go. What do you got for this matchup?
I'm just going to take Seattle, Arizona. They show some grit. They show some fight. They got a little bit of fire in their gut. They're riding their bike to work. They're walking to work. They're in an Uber. They're driving to work. And they got that fire in their gut. But it doesn't matter when you go up to Seattle. The atmosphere is going to be crazy.
Oh, yeah.
And, we're getting into the colder months here. And in the colder months, the sun goes down a little earlier. So it's a twilight kind of game for this team. By the time the game's ending, you're going to have the stadium lights on. Might be getting a little foggy there in Seattle. Water coming off, or the fog coming off the water there. I don't think Seattle's good at all, but Arizona isn't good at all either, and they're kind of becoming that team that we thought they were. You can pass on Seattle, which is kind of crazy because they have really good corners and stuff like that, but we're talking Josh Dobbs here, and we like the guy, but his feet carry more weight to them for them winning football games than the forward pass. I'll take Seattle to win the game.
Yeah, you talked about it. Cardinals surprised a lot of people out of the gate. Dobbs surprised some folks after signing with the team moments before the season started. But the Seahawks nearly won a road game at Cincinnati, and they've without a doubt looked like the more complete team in 2023. I know there's maybe some questionable secondary play in the first few games, but they just got Jamal Adams back. He joins Devin Witherspoon, Quandre Diggs, and Reek Woolen. I do like them as a group. I think they'll be fine as the season kind of progresses. I think they're all playing in their second game together. But for this matchup, yeah, give me Seattle for a lot of the reasons you mentioned. Next matchup, Green Bay at Denver. Green Bay road favorites. They get 1.5. Over unders at 45. For injuries, Aaron Jones for the Pack should be good to go. Had a hamstring. Lots of questionable tags for Green Bay, but with the bye week, they are getting some guys back and healthy. Denver, they're just missing Greg Dulcich with a hamstring. Not going to play. Not sure if that makes much of a difference, but what you got in this one, Nate?
Going back to that Arizona game, where Arizona, they fight really hard, but they are kind of who we thought they were going to be. That's the same thing for this Green Bay Packers team, right? Like the Green Bay Packers came out, they won a game. Oh, everybody's like, oh my God, Jordan Love. He sat 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers with a clipboard. Like this is how you groom a quarterback. And then you realize that Jordan Love actually really stinks at playing the quarterback position at the NFL level. People say, oh, he didn't have Christian Watson. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Aaron Jones does carry a lot of weight for this team. They need Aaron Jones. He's the kind of like what makes their offense go. A.J. Dillon's not able to handle that, no. which is kind of weird because everybody likes the physical attributes of A.J. Dillon. The dude's a monster, and then he's likable too because he collects sports cards. He collects his own cards, and he collects sports cards in general. That's awesome. He plays video games, all kinds of stuff like that, right? But I don't know how Green Bay's favored in this game. I don't think that Green Bay should be favored against anybody. They're probably a pick, if anything. Denver has an offense that can still move the ball. Russ made some pretty bad plays last week. There's in the first drive, you see it a lot. They created a little bit of pressure off the edge, and he had this big, wide open pocket. Like the pocket was massive. Chiefs rush 4, and you see that he looked for like a play action cross from Cortland Sutton, but Cortland Sutton was double teamed, but he was only looking at one dude. But if Russ steps up in the pocket and moves to his left, there's like 30 yards of green grass for him to run. And Jerry Jeudy sitting there with one man on him. So you have kind of an option play there. But I'm going to take Denver to win a ball game here. I don't think Green Bay's good. They're coming to Mile High. Every time that Jordan Love throws an incomplete pass, you're going to hear, Jordan Love on the pass, incomplete. And it's like, it's crazy. And it's like super loud. It's one of the best sounds in football because it's so distracting and it gets in your head. But Denver needs to win some ball games and get guys a bunch of stats and show out some dudes because they're about to go on a fire sale, it looks like. So what better time to do it than against the Green Bay Packers? Bring back those 90s rivalries from whatever Super Bowls. You got maybe Brett Favre shows up, right, with someone else's money. You got John Elway, who's always going to be there. But I'll take Denver to win a ball game as the underdog. I don't think that they should be underdogs. I don't think Green Bay's any good. I get they're coming off a bye, but Denver's also coming off a Thursday night performance where they held in pretty close against the Kansas City Chiefs, who people probably still project to win the AFC for some reason. So.
Yeah, Broncos played well defensively last week against the Chiefs, a team several tiers above the Green Bay Packers. I think that's probably fair to say. And that's exactly what I'm banking on. I think maybe you a little bit too. Green Bay is 21st in defensive efficiency, and their offense hasn't been anything special. It's been ugly if you've watched the games. They're just 16th there, kind of middle of the road. This game will either be low scoring and ugly, or both defenses are just going to implode, and we're going to crush the over. I'm taking Denver, though, hoping we get last week's version of this team, at least on defense. At some point, we've got to get a good game out of Sean Payton, Russ, and the defense, right? Like all at the same time, right, Nate? Right?
Yep.
If not, like this might be the worst coaching job in NFL history. And I hope if that's the case, Nathaniel Hackett chimes in. Yeah. It would be phenomenal.
It's also going to be. It sounds crazy, right, to people who don't live in the Rocky Mountain state here in beautiful Colorado. It's also going to be 75 degrees this day on Sunday.
My God.
Right? But 75 degrees sounds perfect. Like, oh man, great football weather. When you're a mile up in the sky, 75 degrees and the sun feels like it's like 120. Like it just
hot.
It burns, and it's an afternoon game, and that is something that I think is going to be a little bit of a mind fuck for the Green Bay Packers coming from the old Wisconsin where it's probably cooling down pretty well out there. So I think that's a factor too. So And the sun's right there on the visitor side because where the sun goes down the Rocky Mountains and stuff like that. So they're going to get blasted with that the entire game. I think that's a low-key home field advantage that the Denver Broncos have.
And here, this is an afternoon game, but people don't realize like it's hotter here. Like the 2, 3, 4 o'clock window, it's just blazing hot on these types of days. So I agree with you there.
Yeah.
Next matchup, Chargers at the Chiefs. Aforementioned Chiefs here. They are favored 5.5 at home. 47.5 is the over-under. It's up there for injuries. Chiefs are going to be without Justin Watson, and the Chargers have Derwin James as questionable with an ankle injury. So not much there, but what are we doing with this matchup? I know you like the Chargers.
I do love the Chargers. I love the players on the Chargers. I love me some Justin Herbert. It's almost time for us to start saying Brandon Staley might not be the only problem here, right? Like Brandon Staley and their GM probably going to get the boot after this year, which kind of stinks. Right. You hate to see anybody lose their job. He'll be able to probably get a coordinator position somewhere or whatever. And, they'll be able to get jobs in the NFL still, but you hate to see them have to go through that. But Justin Herbert, like he gets a lot of praise and stuff like that, but I think it's a lot of because one, he's cute. He's very tall, striking young man, has a good jaw, great hair. Especially living there in Los Angeles, right? He's got that surfer dude look.
He does.
But let's not act like this dude doesn't throw the ball to the wrong team at the least opportune times, right? I'll take Kansas City to win the ball game. I think that there's something really bad brewing in Los Angeles, and I think they're trying to figure out whether or not they're going to elevate Kellen Moore to a head coaching type job.
Probably.
Or they're going to bring somebody else in because they went completely defensive, but I don't get what they're doing there. They don't like to run the ball. The 1 week where the team looked fantastic and they ran smooth on offense was week 1. And granted, they played a team who was a track meet team as well, but they ran the ball for almost 200 yards in that game, and they just seemed to get completely away from it. They played Dallas and decided to throw it 50-something times, which I don't think it was 50-something. I think it was like 40-something times because I had a Herbert overpass attempts prop because I was like, they're just going to throw the ball. But it's like they don't do anything that other teams show how to beat a team, right? Everybody who's beaten Dallas has run the ball against them, and they decided not to run the ball against Dallas. Let's just sit back here and let them pin their ears back. It's completely dumb, but I'll take Kansas City to win the game. 5.5 is a lot, though. You know, like I have the Chargers as part of my best bet later on. The Chargers just don't lose games by more than one score. So they don't win a lot of games, but they definitely don't lose by one score. So, but Kansas City to win the ball game.
And the Chiefs aren't really lighting up the scoreboard so far this year either. So that makes sense. Chiefs, though, they've been quietly, a good, efficient team. Nothing flashy, no outrageous Miami 70-point games. They're 6th in offensive DVOA and 9th in defensive DVOA. So just solid on both sides of the ball. They've allowed the 7th fewest passing yards and they're top 10 in forced turnovers. On the other side, the Chargers are 8th in offensive efficiency. The offense is kind of carrying them, but they're 26th in the same metric on defense. I'm taking Mahomes, taking the more complete team. The stats kind of speak for themselves. If you watched any of the Chiefs, that kind of speaks for itself. I'm taking the team playing at home as well. I've also got Kansas City. Can we bet on, coordinators becoming head coaches and parlay like Kellen Moore and Eric Bieniemy being head coaches in 2024? Cool. Is that a thing we can do on DK or FanDuel?
There's probably not on those books, but there's got to be one somewhere.
So. Someone will take some overseas book, right? Yeah. All right, let's get into the primetime games here. Sunday Night Football, Miami at Philly. The Eagles are home favorites. They get 2.5 over under. This is the highest on the week at 51.5 for injuries. Miami, they're still going to be without Jalen Ramsey's services. They've talked about him coming back. He's not playing this week. And Xavier Howard carries a questionable tag with a groin injury, so a little banged up there. Philly, they're not going to have Bradley Roby or safety Reed Blankenship. A lot of names missing there. So Darius Slay going, Lane Johnson going. They're not on the injury report whatsoever. Has to be good news for our picks here, Nate. What you got?
Rough week for the Philadelphia Eagles. They go to MetLife and they get smoked by the man himself, Zach Wilson. So much that the Jets decided, hey, let's just take a week off, celebrate a little bit. Congrats, Zach. The New York Jets at the beginning of the season, we thought they'd be really happy with Aaron Rodgers and being 3-3 at this point in the season. They're doing it with Zach Wilson, and they beat the Bills and the Eagles, right? Wins are a quarterback stat. Zach Wilson beat the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, Tom Brady's the greatest because of wins. Like, that's the only reason why no one gives a shit, right? Dan Marino wasn't the greatest quarterback of all time because he threw for a bunch of yards. No, he wasn't because he didn't win. But yeah, nothing worse than Miami Dolphins and their flashiness coming from South Beach going up to play a secondary who's kind of struggled to stop the wide receivers in the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Philadelphia Eagles do one good thing, and that is create pressure up the gut with Jalen Carter, and they're able to rush the passer really well. They could also stop the run really well. Can they do it against all this motion and pre-snap stuff and all that kind of stuff? I think that after getting getting beat by the New York Jets and Zach Wilson, you're not going to come in here and be like, hey, you flashy guys, like, hey, let's remind everybody who Philly is, right? A lot of those Philadelphia Eagles players are going watching the Phillies play. You can see a lot of the clips on, like, DeAndre Swift was there sitting like right behind home plate, and I think who was he with? I forget who it was. One of the defensive guys, I believe. But they're sitting there and they're like, wow, like, this is what baseball is like. Like, I got to come back to this or whatever, right? And they're pumped at that. You got Jason Kelce up in the booth with his brother pounding Bud Lights, and Philly's just buzzing right now. I think they're gonna get a big win here against Miami. Miami is a team, and I forget who it was, but he's on VSiN. It's like Vegas Sports Information Network or whatever. All they do is talk betting. But he talks about how the Miami Dolphins are a bully football team, and what bullies do in middle schools and high schools, right, is they pick on and they beat the shit out of the people that are inferior to them, right? And they're small. But the moment someone punches them right in their fucking nose, they kind of fold like a chair, right? They can't deal with what happens in the face of like people who are really there to like just knock them back, and then they struggle to win like gritted out games. Philadelphia is probably going to rush for 250 yards in this game, and big DeAndre Swift game. They're going to control the ball, and hope that Miami Dolphins don't come into Santa Claus suit because they're going to get batteries thrown out of them. They're going to get kicked out of the stadium. I'll take Philadelphia to win this game. Primetime Philly, and you got the flashiness of South Beach and everything that this team has going for them and what everybody's saying. 70 points. Good luck. You might not put up 18.
Oh,
I'll take Philly. Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and look at all the Eagles rushing overs when I'm done here. Yeah. I like Philly getting Slay and Lane Johnson in there. That's a very good sign, especially having Johnson in the trenches there for the run game. For Miami, their defense is outside the top 20 in DVOA and 20th against the run. That's the Eagles' path to victory. You know, those long, sustained drives, kind of pushing them around, running it on the ground, keeping the Dolphins' offense on the sideline. Should be a fun game to watch, though. I think there'll be plenty of points scored. It should be good football. Unlike some of those early games. I was loud.
Sorry, I didn't mute
right
there.
That was very loud. That was so loud. Listener, we apologize.
I'm sorry. I have some, like, my throat is, like, really dry. It's been like this for 2 days, and I've been muting this whole time, and I forgot to mute.
I thought you had issue with me speaking to the Phillies run game. I was like, you just said the same thing. I think it's going to be a fun game, though, to watch in the afternoon game. There's not going to be as many games right in the afternoon slot. I'm sorry, this is a Sunday night game. So we'll all be watching this one every snap. Should be a lot of fun. Could be a coin flip, though, you know, if Miami gets out in front. But I am taking the Eagles. I think Philly has to win this game after last week. So right there with you, Nate. Other primetime game, Monday Night Football, San Fran at Minnesota. San Fran on the road, favored by a touchdown, over-unders at 44. For injuries, San Fran has an extra day, but they currently have CMC, Debo, Trent Williams, and Dre Greenlaw, all with questionable tags. So monitor those over the weekend. I think for the most part, they're all good to go. Minnesota has guard Ezra Cleveland with a questionable tag. Obviously, no Justin Jefferson, but what do you got with this game?
Did Christian McCaffrey practice today? I don't know if he did or not, but I know they didn't practice yesterday, but they.
I'll check while you speak to it.
I have concerns about Christian McCaffrey playing in this game. I don't think it's necessary for what the Niners need to do to win a ball game. I think Jordan Mason is pretty comparable. Eli Mitchell should be coming back as well. Debo's probably a more of a key piece to this offense than Christian McCaffrey is, which sounds weird to anybody who is listening. But Debo does so much of what you see from like the Miami Dolphins with pre-snap motion and moving and getting across the middle, creating another level with Kittle over the top and stuff like that. But Minnesota doesn't rush the passer really well. They have to blitz, but you know who's really good against the blitz is Brock Purdy. But it's going to be, I think, more dependent on whether or not Debo is able to play. But I don't think Debo should play. Like, you don't really, you need to win ball games in the NFL, but I think that they can win without him. Coming off an embarrassing loss, I think this defense can, not having to guard Justin Jefferson kind of helps. So the defense can kind of do what they do and be able to hold Minnesota. Monday Night Football up there in Minnesota as well is like a really rough scene. It's loud. It's, you got the whole skull thing. Maybe you smell a little blood in the water. Minnesota doesn't really lose games by a lot of points either, right? So 7's actually a lot, which is kind of crazy. But I'll take San Francisco to win a ball game. I don't think that those dudes should play for like the long-term health of the team. Niners got a pretty rough schedule coming up here. And in week 13, you get to play Philly. So I'd rather guys not have lingering issues and stuff like that, but I'll take San Francisco to win a ball game on Monday night on the road. 7 is a lot, though, on the road. I said last week I don't think the Niners should be any less than a 10-point favorite against pretty much anybody in this league. But 7 points on a Monday night on the road in this atmosphere is going to be rough for them to cover, I think.
Yeah, so Dre Greenlaw practiced today. CMC, Debo, and Trent Williams sat out, but I think they can play without practicing. I would also just kind of pay attention to that tomorrow since these guys play on Monday night. So those injuries we mentioned occurred in that Browns game, which San Fran lost. They were on their heels a bit there with the sloppy field conditions, playing without those key pieces, and then Cleveland just having a ton of momentum at home. Third string quarterback. They just got in the offense. Kyle Shanahan's going to have his guys ready, as Nate mentioned, whoever ends up suiting up on Monday. And then Minnesota no Justin Jefferson. That's going to affect that passing game, obviously. Also worth noting, the only wins Minnesota has this season are over teams with a combined 1-11 record. They do keep things close, but they're losing those one-score games that they won, just last year. So no surprise here. I've also got San Francisco. Mm-hmm. Lots of teams on bye. We got 13 matchups this week. So Cincinnati, Dallas, Tennessee, the Jets, Carolina, and Houston all on bye. What we're risking on the week to get to 1 unit of profit for each of those games that we picked, if our pick wins, I'm risking 26.2 units with Nate risking 24.5. What are we thinking about for this week's best bet, Nate? Is it a teaser? I bet it's a teaser. I really don't know. I didn't check the notes. It's a teaser.
It's a teaser. I wanted to put it in my best bet being Isaiah Hodgins to score a touchdown, or Darren Waller to score a touchdown. Right?
That would have been bold.
Like I want those type of things, or Amon-Ra. I think Amon-Ra's good for one, right? But those odds are like you got to layer. Just it's too short of a shot. So, but I'm gonna go 6-point teaser again. DraftKings actually is the last place really on the planet Earth, other than offshore, that does -120 for teasers, which is nice because everywhere else is like FanDuel is like -134. That's outrageous. And a lot of places like Caesars and MGM are like 140, and like it's crazy out here. But like you're just laying too much for the odds that you're getting, right? So 6-point teaser. I'm gonna go with the Chargers on the road at KC up to 11.5. So you're getting over the 7 and the 10 there. I don't think that Los Angeles is a big lose by 2 touchdown team. They just don't do it, right? They're able to put up points and they can score fast near the end of ball games. I get that it's on the road in the division, but it's not like Kansas City's like putting up tons of points on everybody. So shout out to the Kadarius Toney breakout party this weekend. And then I'll take the New York Giants. I think they win the ball game, but the Washington Commanders don't beat anybody by 2 scores. So I'll take them to get off the 3 through the 7 and up to 9. They just played toe-to-toe with
the Bills, yeah.
The Buffalo Bills, right? And I think there's a little steam there. Tyrod Taylor's a pretty comparable quarterback. The defense looked to be playing a little bit better. We'll see how that carries over from a primetime game. But they're at home, and, like I said, like the New York Liberty just got smoked, so someone in that city needs to win a ball game. So I think that getting to 11.5 with the Chargers and up to 9 with the Giants is something that I really like. So and both low totals are the Kansas City was not as low, but I think that they can run. But when you're looking at 37.5 and a 9-point, thing, like what? Yeah, 20-10. 20 something at 13. Like, I don't think Washington does that to anybody. So
it's bold. I like it. I wasn't a huge fan of the lines just overall. Wasn't a huge fan of the spreads this week. Wasn't a huge fan of the over-unders. Wasn't going to parlay. So I'm also doing a teaser this week, Nate.
Nice.
I tinkered with this for a while. I settled on San Fran. They're -7, and Seattle -7.5. That's down to Seattle -1.5 and San Fran -1. And at the time of recording, also -120 on DK. Yep. That was the best I could get, so that checks out. I believe both teams win outright, and I'm comfortable given everything we've talked about to this point about those teams winning by at least 2 points. So again, taking San Fran and Seattle to 1.5 and -1. Yeah. Trying to get over 500. That'll get me to 4-3 if it wins. But any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No real final thoughts.
No,
but no, I'm just kidding.
No, do you have anything?
I don't really have anything. I really don't have anything. Interested to see how things go this week. Kind of fun. Just a side note or whatever like that. But kids come back this weekend, so I picked them up here in the morning. So as this comes out, you will know that I'm picking up my kids from the airport about an hour and a half away. But my daughter, she texted me the other night because she's watching the Saints and Jacksonville game
Thursday,
and she's like, she's sitting here like, Dad, I got the Saints or whatever like that. She's watching it on the NFL Plus app on her iPad or whatever. And then she's just tilting the entire time because she's like, man, if I was actually betting, I'd be losing so much money right now. And I was like, they both got a good defense. It just takes one turnover, a fumble, or an interception, and it kind of changes the course of the game. She's like, they already fumbled. Like, she's like, it already happened, Dad. Like, she's just full tilt, text. It was nice to see. Excited to have them back because it makes football a lot more fun to watch because they're all into it too now. So hopefully win money. Best bets for you guys out there. Hope you guys win them all. And good luck.
Yeah, she obviously doesn't listen to the show. Otherwise, she would have taken Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Come on, Layla.
What a loser.
Yeah. Just going to give a shout out here before I throw our closing thing here. So El Guapo, I don't know if you could see this or if it's mirrored or whatever, but it's a dude who posted like he had his feet up and he was like watching us on TV this last weekend. So shout out to him. He was asking why our episode hasn't posted yet. Hopefully, the injury alibi was a good enough reason to wait a couple days to get this thing posted. But thanks for listening, man. Thanks for subscribing and thanks for shouting us out on Twitter. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we might end up doing this as a later in the week one. It does make sense to try to bet these things after, but it kind of depends on our schedule, right? Like it sounds like such a cop out, but we both work super full time and raise kids and stuff like that. So we try to fit it in early, but it also makes the weeks pretty rough because I'm the only guy who edits here. So it like when I had to edit, it's a couple hours post, right? 3-4 hours or something like that to make it all happen and get it out everywhere. So those nights take me to 1-2 in the morning and then got to wake up at 5. So we'll try to figure it out, a better schedule, but maybe this works, but who knows? We'll see what it looks like. So I like to get it out before the Thursday games, but it does help with the injury news.
Yeah, I think that's like ideal, right? Get it out before Thursday night football. But I think seeing that injury report on Friday kind of helps out with some of these picks, some of these best bets. So we'll see. We'll play it by ear and see how things work out in the future. But as always, thank you for listening. We'll return next week with Nate's recap, followed by our Week 8 picks. We will talk to you guys then. Good luck with your fantasy, DFS, all your sports betting, or if you're just watching football, enjoy it. We'll talk to you guys in about a week. Love you. Bye.
Share it with your dad. Dad, share it with other dads. Love you. Bye.